Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joe Papano from FiberLink. Thanks for joining us today. I think we've got a really good and timely program today. So as usual, we're going to go quickly. A couple ground rules. First, everyone's going to get an email at the end of the webinar with a link to get the slides for today. So that's always something people want to know. So you'll be getting that right after the webinar. So you will be able to get the slides. We'll also do some Q&A at the tail end, so save your questions, and we'll open it up for Q&A at the end, and we'll do that via either the Q&A panel in WebEx or the chat panel in WebEx. So those are the ground rules. We've got on our program today, we're covering kind of a really key topic in the Android world, which is how do I secure data and email on Android devices, right? So lots of companies are struggling with how to get Android devices enabled in their enterprise, and obviously one of the biggest concerns is securing the data and the email. And so we've got a great program today with folks from NitroDesk, who are the makers of the TouchDown client, email client, messaging client for Android. So I think anyone who has the pleasure of having an Android phone like I do knows that one of the first things they want to do is find a little bit better mail client than the one that ships with Android. And so NitroDesk are certainly the guys who make the most popular and well-known messaging client for Android. So today we've got Jeff Overbeck from NitroDesk, who's a project analyst, and we've got Ron Goins, who's the COO and chief troublemaker at NitroDesk, to present to you about the NitroDesk product and its benefits. And we've also got Brian Christini from FiberLink, and so we're going to cover how NitroDesk's TouchDown product plus MaaS360 in tandem can be used to provide secure data and email. So Brian, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thanks, Joe. So just to kick it off here quickly, wanted to talk about what we'll learn today. So quickly touch on Android and how it's really infiltrating the enterprise, and you know, whether you're prepared to enable it or not. In many cases, it's coming. Then we're going to do a little deeper dive on the NitroDesk side to help to show you how, or they're going to describe more eloquently than I, you know, how they're providing enterprise class email on these Android devices. And then we're really going to talk best practices around how, you know, MDM solution plus NitroDesk on email for email, secure email, is really enabling enterprises to embrace Android devices in their environment. Then we'll do a quick summary wrap-up and then Q&A. So I did just want to touch on this for a second, and you know, you can present this probably 50 different ways, but you know, why should I care? You know, Android is the #1 OS in the U.S. and worldwide now. So in just putting a couple bullet points up here, you know, of why you might start seeing Android in your environment. But really, if you plan to allow employee devices or have an employee liable policy program, allow those devices onto your network, you know, Android will be part of that group and they will be in your environment. If Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, pretty much you name it, carrier is your carrier, you know, Android will be in your environment. IT seems to love Android devices from speaking with customers and many prospects. You know, one of the devices they always seem to have is a Zoom in their environment. So really that'll help push Android into your environment. The key piece here, of course, isn't the device. It's that the corporate data will find its way onto these devices. So if you're in a highly regulated industry and you're concerned about your corporate data being on these devices and these employee-owned devices, how are you going to secure it when it's on the device? How are you going to manage getting it to the device? And then how are you going to take it away when that time comes? So really, to fully embrace the consumerization movement and, you know, the productivity benefits, operational and cost benefits that can bring, enterprises really will need to support Android devices. Just to touch on again, what we'll talk about today is really enterprise management for Android devices. So we're going to touch on securing email, which I'll hand over to Jeff in a second here. And then we're going to touch on how to configure that, some advanced controls around that, how to simplify kind of the end user activation piece, so really automating it for the end user. And then we're going to talk about how do you kind of automate the IT component of it, which is making sure that the device is in compliance so that they have email. And if it's not in compliance, take that email, take that corporate information off of the device in an automated fashion. So that said, I'm going to kick it over to Jeff if you're available, Jeff, there, and to talk through TouchDown and give everyone an overview from your side.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeff Orbeck with TouchDown, and TouchDown was built to be an end user client that quickly turned into a corporate answer to what was being asked for. We have, as TouchDown has been updated over the years, we have enforced where it can enforce corporate exchange policies, which really is a benefit when it comes to security. When you're using a client such as MaaS360, the auto discovery really goes in there and makes it very easy to set up. Your end user can do it, or you can also run it through a dashboard such as the MaaS360. There is no server. One of the big advantages to TouchDown is you do not have to have a huge investment in servers. We do not require, there's no actual proprietary hardware for this. We connect we connect in ActiveSync. We can connect in Exchange 2003 and 2007 modes for those of you that are on legacy connections. It also works with hosted Exchange, which is a great way. If you're already in there, you don't have to move over. We've added a lot of custom features to this, where you can have off-peak hours where you can be notified certain ways. We have nagging if there's we have emergency-based clients where if there's a hot word that comes in their subject line, it can activate a certain type of alert, and they'll be notified in a certain way. One of the big benefits about TouchDown is not only it's easy to use, but we focus on security, and we'll get into that a little bit more here in a couple slides. The cost-effective portion of this, we do have multi-user site licenses, so you can either license TouchDown to your company or to individual users. It's very flexible in that manner. We also, we're based out of Bellevue, Washington, and support does not cost extra. There is no subscription license to TouchDown. It is a one-time purchase. All upgrades are included for the life of the product, as well as the support. There is no support contract that is required. It comes with the one-time purchase. And this is also, it goes with the MDM support with the MaaS360 as well. We also have it where TouchDown is very easy to push out to an enterprise type environment, where we have several ways that we can do that, where users won't have to be worrying about codes, where you can have one user license for the site, and so there's no need to manage different Gmail accounts that's associated with the Android device. You can have one code and manage that anywhere from 1 to 100,000 users, that one code. We program that from here, and then we hand it over to an enterprise solution. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And like I said, TouchDown, we focus on security. And so the things that you would expect or want from a client, TouchDown does deliver on, and those are the settings you can do from Exchange. So PIN enforcement, how many times it's asked for. You can have it where it's every 15 minutes. You can have it where it's only once in a 24-hour period, or every time that you actually go into the email client. And just giving a quick gloss over all these things here are enforced by TouchDown from Exchange. So as your enterprise policies from Exchange are required, we see all different types and how deep the requirements go. Also, a feature that TouchDown does offer is, and we know IT, when you get into the larger organizations, when users forget their PINs or they're have to be reset, TouchDown does offer a way for the end user to go in there without having to contact the IT department, and they can reset their PIN remotely from their handset as needed. let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This year is something that we've been upgrading on. We just upgraded in May of this year to 256-bit AES encryption. We were in triple DES previous to that, so we have just recently upgraded that. TouchDown does also allow you to wipe with more and more users bringing in their personal devices, the security features that are required if they lose that device. As we know, your information is your lifeblood. And you can issue a kill code to actually wipe out all the data on the form that's corporate. You can also specify it to be corporate only. One thing I should mention is that we actually just got it where the 256-bit encryption is export compliant now as well. So if you have places overseas or site locations over there, TouchDown now can be put outside the U.S. borders. A huge portion of it, TouchDown does not communicate with third-party software, and that is to maintain the security model of TouchDown. If people want, want TouchDown to be able to to interact with all these other programs, and we just don't do it because that's where we know the code that we've written, and we're not sure where the other code's coming from, so we do maintain that non-third-party interaction. And also, part of that, with the database being encrypted, it's isolated from other data. So as your information comes in through TouchDown in this process, it does not go through any other programs, whether it's in transit on the device or even when it's at rest. Your data is always encrypted. We've also encrypted on the SD card, so if you do move your database from the host device to your SD card that is mounted, it'll be encrypted there as well. So even if somebody does go to take the SD card out of the device, TouchDown is still encrypted. They will not be able to get the information from the TouchDown files. And also attachments are also included in that because that's part of your data, so all attachments will be encrypted in that as well. And we've just recently started implementing the S-MIME authentication as well, and TouchDown is supporting that currently.
Thanks, Ron. So this is Brian again, and I'll kind of jump into specifically kind of best practices around managing that piece and configuring TouchDown, and more or less how MaaS360 is implemented, how you should look into an implementation as you go forward or move forward with a solution around this for Androids. So what we're highlighting here is really how simple it is to configure the Exchange profile or the TouchDown profile via MaaS360. So you're able to enter your credential information into here, your server, your host name, your domain information, and we make that configurable to support some of the hosted solutions, the Office 365 that's coming out today as well. You can set the SSL configuration, and there's some intelligence which I'll talk about in a second around how a user gets notified if they have an agent or don't have the correct agent installed on their device, how they can upgrade to that agent. So really automating it from an end user perspective. So what you're seeing now is kind of the policy configuration to set that up today in MaaS. So that was really the IT perspective. Now we're going to take it down to the user perspective. How does the user get configured? So what happens is really a user gets notified that they have a profile configuration available specifically for their mail. Simply clicking on that menu item, and then they're prompted. Do you have, we're intelligent enough to know whether they have TouchDown installed on that device or not. We're also intelligent enough through the integration to know whether it's a smartphone or a tablet. Then we'll download the correct version automatically over the air for that user, and they can begin the process of getting set up. So how simple of a process is it? It's really a three-step process. You accept terms. Again, the email client will pop up. It's configured based on what you put into the platform. Basically, they still have to enter their passcode on there, and then it starts syncing automatically. And within a couple of minutes, you're up and working and running an email client without the user having to do anything or enter their passcode. Now, Ron had touched on the fact that there's licensing pieces, and I kind of jumped over this earlier, but you can enter your license key that you purchased through NitroDesk and seed that as part of the policy, so the user doesn't have to go through the activation process of purchasing that license over the market. So you can buy a license key for your entire population, seed that as part of the policy, and then that automatically gets seeded and activated on the end user part. So taking it a step further, once you have that email configured on the device, and now your email is secure, as Ron mentioned, with a 256 AES encryption, but you still need to be able to enforce to make sure that that device is in compliance. And the first piece I'll touch on here is really making sure your MDM solution is still monitoring that device or monitoring that device at all times. So really enforcing MDM control. With MaaS360, you're able to do certain actions on the device should a user try to remove mobile device management controls. So if you want to lock the device so that the user can't get into the device with an administrative passcode, we built that into policy. If you want to do a selective wipe, so if a user wants to remove MDM control, that's fine, but we'll do selective wipe, which a selective wipe in our terms is removing that data from the device, so removing the configurations we just pushed down to the device so that the user cannot get to their email. Or you can do a full wipe to be even more restrictive. In addition to just the user removing MDM control, there's also other actions or compliance state that a device can be in. So we give the ability to enforce compliance on the device. What are some out-of-compliance reasons? They downloaded a restricted application, which you can set as part of policy. Is the device rooted? Does it have a passcode policy on it? Is it a minimum OS version that's supported in your environment? Does it support encryption? So you can configure these rules within the platform and then perform automated actions on them. So in the case of a rooted device comes into your environment, what do you want to do? You want to selectively wipe them. You want to remove all the corporate controls or policies you push down to the device in an automated fashion. So again, the IT perspective, how do I configure that? This kind of shows how easily you can go in and configure enforcing MDM control as well as enforcing compliance and some of the actions you can take on that device should they not stick with compliance or come out of compliance. So again, taking it from a user perspective and showing you compliance enforcement, when that user does something that's out of compliance, such as download an application, in this case they downloaded Angry Birds, the user is notified, hey, based on a corporate message, hey, you've downloaded this application, you haven't uninstalled it, so therefore we're going to remove your corporate settings until it's uninstalled. And the great part of that is we give the ability and show in an automated fashion what the corrective measure is for the user. You have to uninstall Angry Birds to get your email back. Clicking on that menu item will uninstall Angry Birds automatically. And then, of course, the great part about this is once the device goes back in compliance, we're automatically laying those profiles back down onto the device. So the user doesn't have to call the IT administrator and then say, okay, you have to send me back down my email profile to get connected again. Once they go back in compliance, it's automatically seeding those profile information back on the device, and they can work away again. So running through that pretty quick, but really, again, kind of touching from what we started in the beginning, Android's here. It is the #1 OS. And if you're using many of the major carriers in the U.S., you're probably going to have Android devices in your environment. And you want to manage that with best-of-breed technologies. So you want to make sure you can secure that sensitive data that's on the devices. TouchDown provides, again, the leading email client for Android devices in the market. Once you have that data secured, you still want to make sure that should an employee leave, should the device get lost, that you want to be able to wipe that data. And you want to be able to have different controls. So an employee gets terminated, you want to be able to fully wipe that device. If it's a personal device, which seems to be the case a lot of times with Android devices, you want to be able to do that selective wipe. So just pull away the corporate information, pull away the email profile, Wi-Fi profiles that you push down to that device so they can't get back into your network. And that's really the over-the-air policy and profile configuration. And the last piece, which I kind of talked about, was that real-time policy enforcement and action. So should a device go out of compliance based on a restricted action that you put on the device as part of your policy, you want to be able to perform an action on that user, specifically around the data, until that user comes back in compliance.
Brian, thanks. Jeff and Ron, thank you as well. I just want to add a couple things here. I mean, I remember when I cut the cord from my from my BlackBerry and switched over to an Android device. Got the device, started up the email client, was expecting it to work like my BlackBerry, and it was nothing like it, no integration with address book or anything else. And so I think within about 5 minutes I found out about TouchDown and installed it and have been a happy user ever since. So Ron, Jeff, thanks for bringing a great product to the marketplace. And I think that, certainly what we hear a lot from folks is that they've got a little bit of trepidation about Android, right? They're more confident with iOS types of devices just because Apple's got a little bit better control of the ecosystem. But the Android stuff is a little bit more scattered, and so that concerns them or worries them. Certainly what we're seeing, driven by that whole consumerization trend, is that the Android stuff's coming, right, and it's coming fast. So, everybody's asking about it, and I think that, these two products, TouchDown and MaaS360, married together really gives companies that one thing that they believe is critical to allow them to enable Android adoption, which is, can I secure my email and secure the data and other attachments associated with that email? So, I think it's a great thing for folks in IT to know so that they can, really work that into their mobile device management strategy and plans, right? So previously, lots of people would just say, no, can't support Android, we don't have a way to secure it. That's really not the truth or not the case, right? So hopefully folks are going to really explore this and look into what they can do and how they can take advantage of TouchDown and a mobile device management platform like MaaS360. Before we open up the floor to questions, I wanted to do a couple pieces of business. One, if the folks on the call haven't seen this article yet or don't know about it, about 2 weeks ago, Network World actually published the results of some independent testing that was done by a third-party organization of the leading mobile device management platforms. And it was kind of a hands-off, head-to-head evaluation where a third-party testing company, installed all the products, evaluated them on a bunch of different criteria, and wrote up their results. And obviously, for us at FiberLink, we were really thrilled to be named as the Clear Choice winner in that study and those results. So I guess if I had to sum it up in one word, the word would be easy. So if you go read the article, and I hope you do, you'll see the adjective easy tied to many things with MaaS360. Easy to set up, easy for the user, easy to use, and that was very gratifying for all of us because that was clearly one of our key design goals from the beginning, was to make it easy. So hopefully we've done a good job, and this was a little bit of vindication for that. So if you haven't seen the article or haven't read it yet, you can go to Network World and find it. There's a link down there at the bottom of this slide, and you'll all get an email at about 3 p.m. that will also have a link to the PDF file. So hopefully you can read that, and you can see we were up against all the major MDM vendors, Tango, McAfee, Sybase, and others. So we're very happy about that. A couple of other things on business here before we get to the questions. They're starting to run in here. On June 23rd, our next webinar is going to be a customer spotlight. So we're going to have CIO from the GSA, Government Services Administration, present on how the GSA worked with FiberLink to use MaaS360 to manage mobile devices from the cloud. So we're very happy to have a customer be available to talk about their experiences with our products and services and give you a chance to ask your questions. So again, the email you're going to get at 3 will have a link where you can register for that webinar as well. On July 7th, we're going to talk about what everybody else is talking about. What does mobile device management look like in a post-BlackBerry world? So I don't want to pile on, but I think we're all seeing the world shift from one that was 99% BlackBerry to one that's maybe 75% BlackBerry today, at least in the enterprise space, and we all sense what direction that number's going, and of course as IT folks and security folks, we need to understand what that means and what we need to start planning for. So we're going to have Chris Corbett from our product management team present what we believe mobile device management is going to look like in a post-BlackBerry world. So what happens beyond that BES server that everybody's got in their data center today? Obviously, on the Master Center, our online community that you can get to from our website. We've got all of our past webinars recorded. You can go view those. There's a few there. We've got lots of other content there, so want to encourage you to go visit the Master Center and use that content. We get a lot of good feedback from it. And one last thing, in that email you're going to get at 3 p.m., there also will be a link to try MaaS360. And obviously, since we've tried to make it easy to set up and use, and it is all cloud-based, we would encourage you to sign up and try it. It's free. You can actually put up to 25 mobile devices in and manage them. So if you're a small company, you can use it as long as you're under a device count of 25. If you're bigger, you'll get a 30-day trial to use it. But it really is simple. And, I mean, we're on many calls where we go in 30 minutes from presenting who FiberLink is to leaving customers with a fully configured mobile device management platform, and usually we can get a couple of at least their Android devices under management in that time if they've got them. So people really are typically stunned when they see how quick and easy it is. So would love it if you would click that link as well. So that's it for the commercial. I'm going to take some questions now, and what I'll do, Ron and Jeff, is I know there's a couple here that have come in. I'll read those off to you guys and then let you kind of answer. So I think I know the answer to this one already, but a couple folks have asked, so we'll ask it as well. Does TouchDown work with Notes and Notes Traveler?
Actually, yes, TouchDown does work with Notes. There's a caveat to that, though, is that you do have to be on an Exchange 2010 server because ActiveSync was not put in for Notes in Exchange 2003 or 2007.
Okay, great. Another question about TouchDown. Question is, yeah.
So, let me clarify. Are we talking about Notes as in the feature in Exchange, or are we talking about Notes as far as Lotus?
Yeah, Lotus Notes and Traveler, which is their kind of ActiveSync agent. Okay.
When it comes to Lotus Notes, it's not one of our officially supported servers. We do have customers that have got it running, but it's not one of the ones we advertise as being fully functional with TouchDown.
All right.
Next, because question. They don't use the emulator.
Go ahead. So next question about TouchDown. Is it agnostic of device Android combinations? So I guess are there specific combinations of either device or Android version that are prerequisites for TouchDown?
Yeah, I guess the simple way to answer that is if it's Android, it works.
Fantastic.
It does smartphones, it does tablets. We're seeing a huge customer base with the Nook color as well.
Great. So this is kind of probably a question more for Brian. Can MaaS360 work without TouchDown and use Exchange EAS?
Yes, we can. So there's a whole feature set we have around Exchange ActiveSync and tying into that and helping you manage users coming in from Android devices into the Exchange environment and being able to push down policies to those devices over the Exchange ActiveSync set.
Okay. Another question coming in, can I manage BlackBerries through MaaS360?
Yeah, so similar to what we've done on the Exchange side, we also have a plug-in to the BES server, so you would need the BES server and for us to manage BlackBerries, but what we do there is we pull it in and allow you to manage those devices, send messages to those devices, change policy for BlackBerry devices, all through our single console. So yes, you can manage BlackBerries through MaaS360, noting you do need to have the BES.
Yeah, and if you do sign up for that webinar on July 7th, managing devices in our MDM in a post-BlackBerry world, we are going to be demoing, kind of our portal, showing you how we can manage BlackBerry's iOS, Android devices all simultaneously. Another question coming in, Brian, I think this one's for you. How does MaaS360 manage the device? Is it by EMEI or by serial number? I guess I think the answer is if it's through ActiveSync, it's via the mailbox, through the Exchange mailbox, correct?
That's correct, and we do use a combination of the IMEI number and a hash we create to set a unique device identifier for that device.
Okay. So there's a question, I think that's for Jeff and Ron, that TouchDown secures the corporate data, doesn't necessarily secure the data on the entire phone. That's
correct, Joe. TouchDown's meant to be focused on the email side of the house. That's where I think you guys would come in and being able to secure the actual phone itself. That's where an MDM vendor. We focus specifically on email information security.
Yeah. And that's kind of important, especially with personal devices, because that's where that selective wipe capability is really important for when those people separate from the company. You've got a way to ensure that the corporate data is removed, but their family photos and music and other things are left intact there.
It's a liability for everyone there.
Yep. So here's a question that I'm fairly certain is for NitroDesk. How do you interact with the MotoBlur corporate email service for the older Droid or the newer Droid 2 for Verizon?
We actually don't. That's part of our security model. So we don't interact with any kind of third party software or clients.
Okay, and are those things typically like the mailboxes you get with any like mobile service you get?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Whether it's a mailbox or whether it's any kind of third party software where there'd be sharing of that data.
Fantastic. Here's a question for Brian. If you send a request through MaaS360 to wipe data, will it remove all downloaded information? For example, if I factory reset an HTC, the data still remained. How does MaaS360 ensure that it gets removed?
So there are the two different types of wipe, which we mentioned earlier. One of them is the factory removal, so being able to completely wipe the device back to default. The other one is the more selective wipe, which will take away profiles to the device. So it'll take away your TouchDown profile or a Wi-Fi profile. The other profiles you can configure via our platform without doing the full wipe back to factory default.
Okay. This is one for the NitroDesk guys. How does TouchDown establish trust? I guess that's by the configuration, right?
It would be through the configuration and the EAS configuration.
Right, through the credentials.
Yes, sir. That's correct. If you do have a client certificate, we do support that.
Okay, I'm scrolling through. I think we've got to the bottom of the list here. If there's any last questions folks have, they can feel free to send them in right now. I know one that came in that I wasn't able to get to and it scrolled by and I lost it was if you've got a Android device that's running a version earlier than 2.2, and you manage this in such a way that you could prevent that particular type of device from getting the TouchDown software pushed to it via MaaS360.
So we do have the Exchange integration and are able to manage devices that are coming in there and block users from actually getting mail on the device in any fashion. So regardless of whether it's TouchDown that is coming through or another email client, we do have the integration on the Exchange side to manage devices that are coming into that environment and blocking them. Our solution for kind of the advanced functionality where you get the selective wipe capability, the ability to configure the email profiles, that's only for versions 2.2 and above of the Android OS.
Okay, great. So here's a next question. How do you prevent the native mail client from being used to connect with TouchDown?
So that's actually a near-term item here that we're solving for, and basically with our Exchange integration, we'll be able to block any non-TouchDown connections to the Exchange server. So that's something we'll actually have in the next month here to be able to configure our platform so that only through our Exchange integration, so that only email connections coming from the TouchDown client will be able to actually sync and get email on the device.
So here's a question about licensing. So I'll kind of run this in. I'm not quite sure we all would know what the answer is, but we'll give it a shot. So if licenses are purchased and allocated to employees' personal devices, can they be revoked and reassigned to an employee when they leave, to another employee when they leave the company?
Is that one for NitroDesk, or is that for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's a NitroDesk one. I think it's the question's referring to the TouchDown licenses.
Fair enough. The TouchDown cost is a one-time fee, and if a company does purchase it, the license does belong to that company, and the company can allocate it. So it is transferable between devices and can be reassigned or pulled as needed.
Super. I'm sure that's the answer somebody the asker was looking for there. All right, folks. I'm going to any more here? We've gone a few minutes over, which is fine, but we had a lot of good questions. Obviously, this is an area that's got kind of a few different dimensions, right? There's the technical part of it. There's the licensing part of it, there's the integration part of it, the user part of it as well. So the questions were kind of a bit all over the board, which I guess is kind of natural considering the topic we were covering. If you've got any additional questions, obviously Ron and Jeff both included their email addresses in their slides, and Brian and I have our email addresses on the slides, so please feel free to contact us directly if you have more questions. And, if you really want to see all this in action, please sign up for an eval, and we'll be happy to demo it for you or actually set it up for you in your own environment so you can try it as well. Hope to see everybody again in 2 weeks when we're going to have the GSA talking about their experiences implementing MaaS360. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.
Have a good afternoon, everybody.